About Jeremiah 38, verse number 11 through 13. The Bible says, "So Abimelech took the men with him and went into the house of the king under the treasury, and took thence old cast clouts and old rotten rags, and let them down by cords into the dungeon to Jeremiah. And Abimelech the Ethiopian said unto Jeremiah, Put now these old cast clouts and rotten rags under thine armholes, under the cords. And Jeremiah did so. So they drew up Jeremiah with cords and took him up out of the dungeon, and Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison." I want us to think about a little bit here this morning, the idea of, just let me give you the title and then I'll get into it. Quit looking for that knight in shining armor. Quit looking for that knight in shining armor. No, ladies, I'm not talking about that, okay? But we have some single ladies here that looking for that knight in shining armor, but that's not what I'm talking about here this morning, all right? And let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for your goodness. I pray you please just bless. And Lord, help us, Lord. I pray, Holy Spirit, please guide and direct me. Help me to be a help and a blessing to your people today. Well, thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Now, all of my life, I have read books and seen movies and have heard of people who were in need of being saved, and some knight in shining armor, or some cowboy on a white horse, or some greater-than-life soldier comes and rescues them just in time. Then they ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after. Now, we all love heroes. We all do. Ladies dream about being awakened from a curse by a kiss from a Prince Charming. Men dream of being the Prince Charming. Now, but because of all of these fantasy stories and tales that we've been told, we tend to live in a fantasy world. When we get in trouble, what we tend to do is we tend to look for that knight in shining armor. Well, this morning, what I want to try to do is bring us all back to reality. You see, most of the time, God does not send a knight in shining armor to save us. My fear for many of you today that are needing help in some way in your life, maybe you're drowning in the area of finances and you've been treading water for some time. My fear is that you're waiting for that yacht to pull up beside you with your name on it and pull you to safety. Maybe you're sinking in the quicksand of your job and it's pulling you down, and you're just waiting for that CEO Tarzan to come and pull you from the quicksand and give you all the tools you need to make your job easier. This message this morning has come about, probably, no doubt in my mind, because of me. This week, I needed this message for myself. Some people I know don't believe this, but I am human just like you are. This week has been one of those weeks where I've had many things come to a head. So this morning, I'm asking for forgiveness for being transparent to you this morning. Allow me to be real with you today. Allow me to share my heart with you today, if you would. And please do not be too hard on your preacher. My wife and I, have been struggling financially to get out of debt since we got in debt while pastoring in Cape Girardeau. Now, the truth of the matter is, God has provided for us more than enough money to get out of debt since we've been pastoring. But we, and mostly myself, have blown it time after time. Last year, I had Lori quit her job because I really feel that my wife needs to be at home. And so when she quit, it left us with still trying to pay off our debt. Well, the problem is that put us almost $900 a month in the hole, not counting buying food or anything like that. Now, we have sold everything that we have that has much value, our vehicles and even personal things. And yet we are still heavily in debt, and every month still in the red financially, probably $700 or $800 a month in the red, without not being able to pay bills, not counting food. We're behind on our house payment. I'm behind paying my mom back. Now, I want you to understand something this morning. Up to this point in my life, I have never, ever been late on any bill that I've ever never been late. I've never been late on a electric bill. I've never been late on anything. Never in my life. We always made sure, if I had to take 2 jobs or 3 jobs or whatever, we always paid our bills. Always on time, never late. And so this bothers me a lot. I know there are some people in this world that they really don't care, but it bothers me. It bothers me a lot when I cannot pay a bill. It bothers me a lot when I know that I owe my mom money and she's struggling right now and I can't help her, especially with the money that I owe her. It bothers me. And it's rough. Now, every day what I do, and I'm just being honest with you this morning, every day I go to the mailbox because I pray and I beg God. I beg God for mercy. I beg God for grace. And I go to the mailbox and I look and open it up, thinking that there's going to be a check in there for $25,000 or $30,000. My knight in shining armor. As your pastor, I've been here over 7.5 years. We just can't seem, we get going and we get ahead of steam. And we just can't seem to break break through the barrier of 100 or so. I keep looking every Sunday. I keep looking for the 1 or 2 families, those families, the good Christian families that have 10 kids and that sort of thing, and families that would be walking in the door that God has brought here, that are good, solid folk that want to serve God. And they're coming here because they heard that we're a soul-winning church and we're a Bible-preaching church and we're out telling people about Christ and we're serving God and being, Christ-like in the community, and they want to be a part of it because that's their life. I keep looking for them to show up and walk through those doors. I look at the needs of the church. I think of the ramp. We've been praying, been doing everything we can and begging God for the money for the ramp. I keep waiting for some visitor to show up and drop in $15,000 in the building fund. I keep waiting for a check in the mail. And by the way, we've had them before, of big checks come in the mail and stuff from people one person I never ever met before in my life, over $5,000. But I keep waiting and thinking, okay, I'm going to go to the mail on Wednesday, and I'm going to go and there it is. That check is going to be there, and we can order the ramp and get it here and get put down before winter hits. You see, folks, we do need a ramp. We need it. We have a member in our church in Richard who is at a point where he's getting worse and worse to where he can't use a walker. He's going to be wheelchair bound. And it's almost impossible to take and come up this ramp, one thing because it's so steep, but then to turn the corner and try to get in the building with an electric wheelchair is almost impossible to do. So it's a need. It's not because it would be nice to have. It's a need here at the church. In one of our people, one of the sheep of the flock that God has given me has a need. I want him to be able to come. There's been Sundays he hasn't been able to come because he can't get up the ramp. We have a need. We need a school. I keep waiting for a phone call from a church or a business that has a building that we can have that's code approved for a school. We have that need. We don't have 10 or 15 kids that right now that would benefit from the school, but if we have one, we have a need. You see, I've been looking for that knight in shining armor to come to the rescue. I'm just being transparent with you this morning. But you see, that isn't how God always works. God doesn't work that way all the time. He doesn't always give us a big check in the mail. He doesn't always give us and just overflood us with people who want to serve God and people who are committed to God and just flood the church with those type of people. God doesn't always work that way. Let me show you what I mean here this morning. God spoke to me. I'm telling you, if you talk to my wife, and it's been a rough week. I'm thinking, okay, God, I've been begging God Thursday. He still hadn't given me what to preach. I'm begging and begging. Thursday night, still nothing. I begged God Friday morning, got up and walked and begged God for a while. And I got into these verses here. And God started to show me something here. And it helped. It helped. So I want to give you some things here that I think will be a help to you in this area. Jeremiah 38, 11 through 13, we just read the story here. Jeremiah was dying in that dungeon. God saved him from this dungeon. Now, if you read the story as we read it and such, God did not use some mighty hero to save Jeremiah. God did not use some golden rope to let down into the pit and use some big crane to lift him up. God did not take some angel from heaven who visibly would come down and pick him up out of the miry clay of the dungeon and lift him up and save him. Jeremiah was saved by thrown away rags and rotten rags from the palace. Think about that. There was no knight in shining armor like what we think of. God used rotten rags to save a man of God. Then I got to thinking, you turn to Acts chapter number 27, if you would. Acts chapter number 27. Paul is being taken. He's on a ship. The wind is breaking up the ship. They're close to some island. Look at verse number 42. And the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim out and escape. But the centurion, willing to save Paul, kept them from their purpose, and commanded that they which could swim should cast themselves first into the sea to get to land. Look at this. and the rest, some on boards, and some on broken pieces of the ship. And so it came to pass that they escaped all save the land. These men and Paul weren't saved by some great vessel that God provided. God did not provide some mighty vessel that came up next to them, and all they had to do was get on board this mighty, glorious vessel and float away. They were not saved that way. These men were saved by some boards and broken pieces of a broken vessel. Think about it. Their knight in shining armor was not some angel coming down from heaven, not some coast guard that flies in on a helicopter and airlifts them from where they're at and takes them up in a helicopter. That was not how God did it, how God saved them that day. He saved them by some boards and broken pieces of a broken vessel. And I'm going to show you another one. This one got to me. 1 Corinthians chapter number 11, verse number 24. The Bible says, when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, "Take, heed, this is my body," look at this, "which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me." You know, God did not save us by a glorious Savior riding in on a white horse. Think about it. God did not give us a Savior that come riding in on a white horse and in all His glory and magnificence to come and take and save us from our sin. We're saved by the broken body of our Savior. A body that you couldn't even look at without wanting to hurl because of the horrific sight and shape His body was in. A body that's hung on the cross in the most humiliating way. A body whose face was so disfigured from the crown of thorns. A body whose midsection was just torn in pieces by the cat o' nine tails. A body that was not a glorious thing, not a pleasant sight. God saved us from hell by a broken body of our Savior. Think about it. Our knight in shining armor for our salvation. It's not the glorious Christ coming in all His glory that saves us. No, it was a broken body. It was a broken body. Folks, we need to stop living in a fantasy world. We need to stop living in this fantasy world. Look, it's easy to do. You turn on the television, and all the shows and all these things is all about this stuff. The news, and you hear of all these things and stuff, and you're thinking, okay, here I am, I'm treading water, I'm having a difficult time in my life, and it's just a struggle and a struggle and a struggle, and I'm getting tired, I'm going down, and I'm going down for the third time, and every time you come up, you start looking for that knight in shining armor, you start looking for that, because that's all you see. That's all you hear about. But that's not how God works. That's not how God works. This morning, let me give you 4 points that God gave me for me to help me in this area. I promise you, I'm telling you, this week has been a rough week. week. Let me give you some points. Number one, stop looking for a knight in shining armor and grab a board. Stop looking for a knight in shining armor and grab a board. Remember an illustration. The man was in the floodplains, and a lot of water. They gotten a lot of water and a lot of rain. And the levee was about to break, and the man was a Christian man, loved God, put all his trust and faith in God. And the fire trucks came and knocked on the door of the man and said, "Hey, you've got to get out of here. The levee's about to break and you're going to be flooded. Get in. Let's go. We'll take you to safety." The man says, "No, that's okay. You don't have to worry about it. You see, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian man, and I pray and I thank God, and I've got a great relationship with God. You don't have to worry. My God will save me from the flood." So they take off. The flood, the levee breaks. And the flood comes and starts to fill the house, and the man goes up to the second story, and it still begins to fill the house, and the man has to go up onto the roof. Pretty soon he sees a boat coming. And this big old boat, they come up and say, "Come on, grab a board. The water's still going up higher. You got to come and grab a board, because it's not going to be long and you're going to be flooded through. You're going to die in the flood." He said, "Oh no," he says, "don't worry about it." He says, "I'm a Christian. I love God, and God's going to protect me. God will protect me. I got faith in Him. I pray to Him. He'll protect me. He'll save me." So they go on. Pretty soon he's up at the very peak of the roof, and the water keeps rising. All of a sudden he sees a helicopter coming, and the helicopter comes and hovers over him, and the loudspeaker, and they let down this cord and say, "Grab the cord. We'll lift you to safety because the flood, it's still rising." And he said, "Oh no, you don't have to worry about me. I'm a Christian. God will save me. I'm okay. Everything's okay. God will take care of me." So they took off. The flood reached over the house and engulfed the man, and the man drowned. He gets up into heaven. He bows down to the Savior and he says, "Lord, can I ask you something? I've trusted you. You know that. I prayed and asked you to protect me and to guide me, and you promised that you would. Why did you let me drown? Why didn't you come and save me?" The Lord said, "I tried 3 times. I sent the firemen, the boat, and the helicopter, but you wouldn't get on." Now, the truth of the matter is, we need to quit looking for that knight in shining armor and grab the board God's got floating our way. I need to quit looking for that big check. I need to grab the boards that God floats my way. I think of some of the boards, got to thinking about it. Our neighbor is Alzheimer's. Her daughter lives with her, and my wife they've asked my wife to come over and help and stuff. My wife has told them flat out, "We don't want any money, we don't want any money." She just totally refuses. I tell you how many times that we're in pretty good need. We get a call from the neighbor, "Hey, can you come over and watch Mom for a few hours?" That was a board that came our way. And last month or so, a couple months, I had the funeral home call me. I hadn't had one for about a month or so, but called me up and said, "Hey, somebody died and they don't have a pastor or anything. Would you be willing to do the funeral?" That's a board that God float our way. A couple weeks ago, visitors show up. Say, hey, we want to give you and your wife this, give you something here. I open it up Sunday night. And there's a couple of little small gifts, and there's a thank you note with a nice little bit of money in it, saying thank you for all you've done for us. What is it? It's a board. It's a board that God is floating our way. Is it the $25,000 check? Is that knight in shining armor? No, it's the board. It's the board. The truck. That was a big piece of the ship. It wasn't the ship. But what that truck has allowed us to do is be able to sell our other vehicle. To get us through another month. What are these things? They're boards. They're boards. You know, got to thinking, you know, instead of looking for those families to show up the front door, I need to grab onto the boards like Damon. Damon gets saved last year, was at a house to get his life straightened around. He gets saved, starts coming, relapse. Now he's up in Reformers Unanimous, all excited about God, growing in the Lord. His life is getting straightened out. That's a board. That's a board that God has given here at the church. I think of, you know, that we had the big vacation Bible school, thinking, wow, you know, we're going to bring in a bunch of kids, and we have a lot more kids coming in and everything else, and we have Levi, one of the new ones. You know what? That's a board. That's a board. I think of our building project, and one of the visitors that came in a couple of weeks ago dropped off a check for the building project for $1,000. Was it 20,000, 15,000? No, but it's a board. It's a board. We need to quit looking for the knight in shining armor and grab the boards that God floats our way. Number 2. Sometimes the easy way out doesn't teach us anything. Sometimes the easy way out just doesn't teach us. Maybe God's saying, you know what? I've got to make it a little bit more difficult on you so you'll learn the next time. We live in a world where we want to make it easy on people. You know, the truth of the matter is, we wouldn't have near the crime in the world if we would just start punishing people accordingly. People would think twice about doing stupid things. These kids that shoplift. First time they shoplift, they had to throw them in jail for a week. Let them see what it's like. The truth of the matter is, sometimes the easy way out doesn't teach us a thing. Sometimes we just have to struggle. This is just what God gave me, folks. But then number 3. Maybe you don't need saving. God might be breaking you so he could use you. That's what he told me. That's God's solution? Yeah. Three or 4 weeks ago, I used to, every year, we would increase our missions giving. Every year. We just increase it. Just natural. Just increase it. But this year, because my wife, you know, quit working, we lost so much income and everything else, and we're in the hole and stuff, this last beginning of the year, I didn't do it. About 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, I started increasing my missions again. Because I know what it's like. I now know what it's like to totally depend upon God. I know what it's like to depend upon God to give you money so that you can even buy food. I have more empathy for these missionaries as they go out to a lost and dying world, an area that many times don't even speak their language, and go into a world where the food you can't even eat. And where they have to beg God and trust that the churches that they've committed, and many of them are working on the field. Brother Hewlett's working on the field. But man, I know what it is. So sometimes maybe God's trying to break you so that you could be that board for somebody. But then, being saved from your circumstances doesn't mean that you're saved. I'm talking about salvation. I have talked to many folk about the Lord. And I've asked them, hey, do you know for sure if you died today you go to heaven? Yep, I know. Really? Man, that's great. How do you know? Well, let me tell you what happened. I was in this car wreck. And it was a serious wreck, and I was in there, and I started begging for God to save me from this thing, to get me out of this mess. And God saved me from it. That's why I know I'm saved. No. God saved you to give you another chance for salvation. But just because God saves you from a circumstance does not make a person saved. A person does not get saved until they put their trust and faith in Jesus Christ for their salvation. That's salvation. When they put their trust and faith, they totally believe, they totally trust what Jesus did when he died on the cross for their sin. That's salvation. Look, I can't tell you how many times before I was saved that God kept me alive. I'm telling you, he literally kept me alive several times that I could name. I'm not going to take the time this morning to give me another chance for salvation. And I thank God in December of 1980 I took it. Look, are you like me, like I was this week, getting tired of treading water? Getting down, getting a little discouraged, getting tired? Can I tell you this morning, quit looking for the Coast Guard to pull you up to safety. Just keep treading toward land. When a board comes by, grab it and use it. When that board sinks, grab the next board. When that board sinks, grab the next one. And then grab the next one. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pressing forward. One day, you'll find your feet are touching bottom. And you'll just get to walk the shore. It'll happen. It'll happen. Just keep going. And every board that God brings your way, grab a hold. And just keep paddling towards that shore. One day you'll make it. One day it'll happen. We need to come back to reality and quit looking. I'm not saying God won't do it, but many times God doesn't work that way. Many times it's those boards. It's old cast rags that's been cast away. It's the broken pieces that God sent in your way to keep you going, keep you treading water. Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, I thank you for your love. Lord, you know my heart. Lord, you know what I personally going through this week. And Lord, you know, and you gave me these truths on Friday. And thank you for that. And Lord, I know there's some in here even this morning that's been treading. Maybe it's not in finances or work, but it's other things. Maybe it's struggling. Maybe it's in health. It's just one thing after another. Lord, maybe they're treading and they're going down again. I hope they'll take what you've given me to give to them. Help them keep going. And grab a hold of those boards that you provide. Speak to every heart this morning, Lord, please, I pray.